Oh my God. Firstly, sorry. Morena, good morning. Kia ora. Uh, you wouldn't believe the last few days I've had, like you wouldn't even believe. The only way you're going to believe it is if you go to my ex and my Instagram. There's been so much happening. First of all, my busybodies, my time jumping detectives, it turns out I might have actually been right about the suspicious death of my neighbour, and now I had to tell people what I knew, and I think there's about to be an investigation into it because of stuff that kicked off last week to do with, remember I've been telling you about my neighbour. I've told you about my neighbour and the trouble that we've had here. So then all hell broke loose and something happened to my boy. And, of course, you know, doing my investigation, I started putting two and two together, and then Big Mouth started talking and revealed some information that confirmed my suspicions about something that happened to my previous neighbour's mother. So then I had to battle with my conscience to decide, well, what do I do? Because if I'm wrong, like how do I present this? How do I present what I know? Because it was a lot. And to clear my boy's name. I call him my boy because I say he's like my adopted son. I adopted him, basically, in my heart. And something very nasty happened to him, and he's been accused of slanderous, defamatory things. And because I'd already been doing my investigation, the two incidents fell into each other. And I had to decide like how I was going to tell the authorities about what I knew. So I went to church and sat in the graveyard, and because the church was closed, the vicar wasn't there. So I sat with God and, you know, decided, I was up all night deciding how I was going to tell my story, what I knew, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. And then, of course, if you go to my ex as well, you'll see I've been doing a lot of ranting about how scientists, you know, the ones with degrees and a lot of financial backing, have started coming out claiming my work as their own. Not, well, we've discovered this, and it's like, no, I said that 4 years ago, and we've discovered that, no, I said that time, and you know, this and that and the other thing. So these scientists have come out and started confirming quantum magnetics is real, and I let the king know, and I said I want a blue plaque on this flat for the physicists who discovered quantum magnetics. You know, the rewriting of history. Scientists have discovered that if you a choice you make now can rewrite history. I'm like, yeah, no, I said that years ago, and that's what I'm currently doing with the king and Vladimir Putin, and you know, I'm rewriting history and all of that. So now I've been defending myself on X with my science, but I mean, the good thing is that now when I take those doctors and cops and all of, and the judge and that to court for what was done to me, I can now prove, because scientists have said Debbie was right, and that Debbie's science is a real thing, and they mocked my science, by the way, in their report. They actually mocked my science and got so much of it wrong. They just looked like retards, like they looked retarded. They said I was a 49-year-old rock, R-O-C-K, from New Zealand. They mocked my indigeneity and how Indigenous people do physics in that. They mocked it. They openly mocked it before deciding that I needed to be poisoned every day, to poison my physics and my black blood out of me. So I'm very angry. I'm very, very angry because I was tortured. I've been tortured. I was tortured. I was starved. I was left without medical attention. My flesh was rotting because these retards didn't understand physics because of the way I was presenting it. So I'm very angry, and they will be paying a lot of money. And I said to King Charles, I want those doctors arrested and I want their medical licenses revoked. Apparently now my case is being looked at through the human rights courts, because other people have started coming forward and saying the same thing happened to me. So now there's like a whole pile of us. Apparently I made a lot of people brave, and telling my story, they were like, hey, the same thing happened to me, and they started speaking up as well. And now apparently the human rights courts are looking into my case, and they have pretty much decided that I was a victim of a human rights violation at the hands of the British establishment, and I'm basically just waiting to hear what's happening. It is probably most certainly going to end in the arrest of my ex-husband. He will definitely go down, as will like Sumo Digital, because they backed him up with lawyers and all of that, social services and that. There's a lot of people who are about to be held accountable through the human rights courts for what happened to me, and then in turn what happened to a lot of people, because it turns out I was an experiment. I was being used as an experiment. So I'm not going to go into that, because that's not why I'm making this post, but this video, but everything is on my Instagram and my X in that. I'm not in X because Elon Musk and Keir Starmer and that keep putting pink flags on me to stop my stuff from getting out, because they know that my truth is reaching the king, my truth is reaching judges and courts in countries that aren't here. They know that they're getting into big trouble. They know they're going to have to pay me a lot of money for what was done. Elon Musk stealing my work, Donald Trump stealing my manifesto. Like, I've been stolen from so much by these people, and they think that by shadow banning all my social media, that it will stop my work and my message from getting out. But if it's now reached the human rights courts, the International Courts of Human Rights, I think it is, because I know it's now involving multiple countries and what happened, it's too late. My story's already gotten out. So now I'm just waiting to hear what happens, and then I'm kind of looking at options at where to move once I get my money and can go. I was right about everything. I've been right about every single thing. I haven't been wrong about a single thing. Every single one of my predictions is coming true, including, it looks like, Asia being responsible for the execution of Bill Gates and that Tedros. I just had a dream yesterday about the execution of Ursula von der Leyen. I had the biggest smile in my heart when I was watching her. Her feet were being dragged because she wouldn't walk to the gallows because they hung her. She had her hands tied and she wouldn't walk to the gallows, and they dragged her, and she would, please, please, I'm sorry, please, please, just, you know, and it was all televised too. So, and the judge said for crimes against humanity and Germany. So I don't know what she's specifically done to damage Germany, but I know at the end of this, when the Illuminati are taken down and the elites are all gone, and, you know, they're in prison or being executed and that, Germany changes its name. Germany's not Germany anymore. It joins someone else and changes its name. Specifically, obviously, from what the judge in this dream said, because of something she was involved in. So she's done something really bad to Germany, and the result will be her execution. Klaus Schwab is under investigation for sexual assault, for money laundering, for genocide, for crimes against humanity, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's losing everything. He's not getting any of the money he thought he was going to get when he retired. Bill Gates has been caught dropping mosquitoes in China, and people are getting sick. So that lines up with my dream about him and Tedros being held responsible for something they do in Asia. So all the bad guys are going down. Donald Trump's days are numbered. Starmer's days are numbered. They're calling for an election here, and they will get it. They will get an election, but I really truly think that Starmer's about to be arrested. I think the king, because see what happened was stuff's been slowly released by the royal family themselves. Princess Anne has now released 2 interviews backing my claims. The first one about the letter that the Queen left, confirming everything that I'd said, and the second one was something to do with Princess Diana, and confirming everything that I said about why she was killed, who was responsible, yada yada, blah blah blah, and it absolutely clears Prince Charles and the royal family in her death. But it implicates Tony Blair and Donald Trump and Israel and everybody else who was involved in 9/11 and the Epstein files, all of it. Princess Anne herself came out and confirmed everything I said. So I know the king's listening, aren't you, buddy? I know he's listening because I saved his reputation. And I think what's happening is, the more I'm being proven right, the more I'm earning his trust. And the more he's starting to relax and release a little bit more that is confirming everything I've been saying. That's what appears to be happening. And when he came out, when Princess Anne came out with that interview saying about what she found in Diana's room at Sandringham Castle, I think it was, and confirmed everything that I'd been saying, I can't even put into words how proud I was. And I messaged the king, knowing that whoever handles his account, will relay messages, and that I just said, thank you for trusting me, basically. Thank you for giving me the time to prove my investigation, to prove myself, to prove my science, because I know you could have had me arrested or deported. He could have very easily, and he didn't. He hasn't blocked me on his social medias or anything like that. He's given me the time to let me talk. And in turn, Princess Anne has been coming out, and lords and all of that have been coming out and saying, yes, she's telling the truth. Not saying Debbie specifically. They're releasing things alongside, I think covertly, to not make it obvious, because obviously, I think because of this court case that's going on, I think a lot of people aren't allowed to reach out to me yet. So it's all been done very nudge, nudge, wink, wink, sort of MI5. Well, actually, they were... A lot of them need to be under investigation for what happened to Princess Diana. I presented some information to the king at the beginning of the year, I think it was, about someone from MI5 saying that she blamed the royals. I worked for MI5. I was in the British Secret Service, and I believe it was the royal family. And I showed the king, and I was like, look what she's saying. It's not true, Your Majesty. Which just goes to prove that it was a setup from Blair's government. It proves it. And because then it's like, well, who can the king trust? If he can't trust his own government, if he can't trust his own secret service, if he can't trust his own military, who the hell can he trust? He can trust a barefoot Māori woman who does physics in the stars, his dead mother and his dead wife. Because now, see, the thing is, physicists have just come out and said that the way, and because I said to the king, it's called quantum magnetics, and it's how I talk to your mother. So it's been quite the emotional roller coaster over the last few days, especially when I found out what happened to my boy. And I don't know where he is, and I don't know if he's okay. And I'm worried sick about him. I'm worried sick about him. So I keep praying. So if you're out there, pray for my boy Liam, because he was accused of something quite heinous. And I've been fighting to clear his name and get him justice. I hope he sues everyone for what was said and what was done. I hope he sues them, but I know that there's going to be arrests. What was it? Lights, camera, action video. It was about that. About what happened to my boy. I realised last night my lights, camera, action video was foreseeing what's going on right now concerning my neighbours. I'm just having a sip of coffee. I only woke up a little while ago. I checked my Instagram and now I've been compelled to make this video because, oh my God, hang on, just give me a sec. Oh, I needed that. What I wouldn't give to be somewhere in the snow, in a cabin in the woods, with a hot bath and a roaring fire, where I can make pots of soup and homemade bread and snuggle in bed with the man that I love. Oh. Anyway, let's talk about aliens. I've briefly made a video about this. I talk about it all the time on X and Instagram, but now that people are falling for all this the aliens are coming stuff, we need to sit down and have a talk, because people, if you believe there are aliens on this planet, you are walking yourself to your doom. You need to look up Project Bluebeam. Now, what I was told, remember my father was in the military for over 34 years, and he told me that Area 51 was a lie, that it was all propaganda to set the world up for a fake alien invasion. What he knew about Project Bluebeam, I don't know. He never specifically said Project Bluebeam, but he said, it was like 7 months before my dad died, we sat down, we were watching Independence Day. He loved that movie so much he watched it 3 times in a row, you know, with Will Smith and that. We were watching Independence Day and it got us talking about aliens. And then that's when my father came out and it all came out. And I learned things about my parents that I will hold dear to me that nobody else in my family knows. Like, when we were babies, every time my parents had a baby, they would go and sit out under the stars and they would come out. Our brethren, my father never called them, he didn't like calling them aliens, because he said they're not aliens, they're not foreign to me. Because alien just means foreign or of unknown origin, and he hates that. He hated it. And he used to say, they're our brethren, they're our brothers and sisters. We all came from there. We all came from the same place. And he said they're not foreign to us. They're not Pākehā, which basically means foreign invader or foreign visitor. In Māori, Pākehā, that's what Pākehā means. Most people think it means white, but it doesn't. The Māori word for white is mā or pā. He used to say, those lights that you see, the ones that you see moving, girl, he said they're not alien craft. He said that's their essence, that's their energy. They don't need craft. He said it is only because man, the way that mankind thinks, they have to put everything into boxes and containers and label them and put a maths on it and put they have to compartmentalize everything to make sense to the way that man thinks. So they put them in metal craft and they, you know, give them sparkly lights and all of that, because they would think, well, if we were doing that, that's what we would do. That's how they would do it, because we have a very linear way of thinking when it comes to the universe and being able to travel in between galaxies and solar systems and planets and worlds and that. But you're talking about species of travellers, navigators, I call them navigators or brethren, or the Council of Elders, who are so intelligent beyond human recognition, they don't need to leave the new universe in order to communicate with us. Now, the interesting thing is, scientists have just come out and said, well, yes, we can communicate with this, that, and I'm like, yeah, but it travels further than that. You know, this was only just yesterday. So proving everything I've been saying, by them proving what I was saying is correct, and that my ability, how I talk to the Queen and all of them up there and all of that, navigating time, you know, physicists have now come out and said, yes, that is true. It's like, so then what it's automatically done is reversed everything that CERN and NASA and SpaceX and that are trying to say about aliens. Because if physicists have proven that we can communicate through long distances and that without even being physically near each other, and it travels further out, you know, it travels into the universe, this ability, why would aliens need metal tin boxes to come and visit us with pink and red and yellow sparkly lights? If they can do all of that, why would they bother wasting all that time and energy to come and what do they want with us? Hybrids, have hybrid babies. They want to rape us, eat us, kidnap us, steal our dirty, filthy resources that Bill Gates is dirtying up. What could they possibly want from this planet that they can't get from any other planet? There's planets that are made with gold, diamonds, that's got cleaner water than ours. So what would they want with us? And this is what you need to understand. Area 51, as my father said, was the start of the propaganda. And then using things like Nikola Tesla's energy weapons and stuff to make things happen that are unexplainable, that will turn those kind of lower frequency running existing minds straight to aliens. They want you to think it's aliens. Now, what's happened is my Egyptian ancestors communicated with them. They knew, like with Hoth, you know, Hoth, Thoth, Hoth, when he spoke about atom and all of that, right? They could see the lights moving and that, and they were trying to understand what it was they were seeing, and they got a lot of stuff wrong, but they got a lot of stuff right. And the stuff they got right, they talked to me and my dad, and the stuff that they got wrong, they entrusted me and my dad to start recorrecting everything that they got wrong about their knowledge of our ancestors. And then everything else mankind got wrong about my Egyptian ancestors. So, you know, with the elongated heads, oh, well, they wanted elongated heads because they were aliens, because they were hybrid aliens. No, they wanted elongated heads because they thought bigger brains meant more intelligent. So if they stretched their brains and made their heads bigger, their skulls, their craniums bigger, they thought they would grow bigger brains and be smart enough to be able to communicate with the Council of Elders, because they knew the pineal gland was the reason why we were able to communicate with them. Okay, so the eye of Horus and all of that, the pine is the representation of the pineal gland, the all-seeing eye, because when you have a decalcified pineal gland, you are able to communicate better with all and everything atomic. And that's what they were doing. And then, you know, everybody else came along, the whiteys came along, and they were like, oh, it's got to be aliens, and, you know, let's say that, you know, the Illuminati and all of that. They, you know, like, they were walking around with handbags. No, they were battery packs. The Dendera light was lighting. No, they were healing beacons. Like I've talked about it before. And then, of course, well, how did they, with the alien craft and on this, that, and the other thing? Because they were trying to warn us about Project Bluebeam. Because they knew what was coming. Because you have to remember that my ancestors could see all this stuff. We knew all this stuff. And so they were trying to warn us about the things that were coming, that were going to lead to the destruction of mankind, including their helicopters and their drones and all of that. They knew, just in the same way I see things years in advance and years in the past and can solve unsolved mysteries and all that sort of thing. My ancestors could do the exact same thing, because their high priests and high priestesses were the kings and the pharaohs and queens themselves. The house of Al Rashid, my direct royal bloodline, my direct royal Egyptian bloodline. King Abdul Al Rashid was considered the last great pharaoh of Egypt, and he was my grandfather 6 times removed, or whatever it was. But it goes all the way back to Harun Al Rashid of Iran. So like my bloodline goes all, my Arab bloodline is very, 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 very old. My people introduced Islam to Palestine and all of that. So, and I think we may have even helped write the Quran. So, my bloodline is very, 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 very old. And we know a lot. And Islam, believe it or not, knows a lot about quantum magnetics too. I've put stuff up on my post before where they talked about, the way the universe works and time and multiple universes, and well, there's, the 2 universes and all of that. And what you need to understand is that, quote unquote, aliens are not in our universe anymore. They left a long time ago. They're in the new universe on the other side of the, our universe is expanding so much before it's going to, like a slingshot, you pull the rubber band back. We're expanding so much before we're going to lose momentum. Especially because we're doing things like destroying our planet, and our planet is actually helping expand the universe through gravity and momentum. When the planet is no longer able to hold herself, she's going to become too light. So then what's going to happen is we're going to go flying backwards and slingshot, like when you let a rubber band go. We're going to go flying back and get sucked into the black hole and mulched up, and we're gone. And, the next however many million years. So they want us off this planet because they want us joining them. But they won't come near us because we're too busy killing each other, starting wars, killing and eating and doing what to our children, and cannibalism with people like Donald Trump and, all these world leaders and that are trying to hide the fact that they are connected to Jeffrey Epstein, like Ursula von der Leyen. I found a link with her. She's connected to the Epstein thing. So is Schwab, so is Mark Carney, so is Yvette Cooper and Ed Balls, all of them. They're all connected. I was able to link them all, connect the dots, and link them all back to Epstein and Israel and all of it. Even Maloney. Freemasons. Klaus Schwab believes he is an alien. Elon Musk believes he is an alien with the power of Thanos. I'm not making any of it up. It is all on my Instagram. There's their interviews, there's their photos. It is all there. I presented all the evidence to the king because they're trying to force this alien thing. But it goes to prove how deep rooted their insanity goes, because they believe that, Rocky Horror Picture Show, the Rothschilds with their parties, wearing the masks, killing the celebrity, eating the celebrity, blah, blah, blah. That's all to do with the Illuminati. And remember at the end, when they get the signal from the tower, the alien spaceship takes off and they, leave man to their doom and they go back to their planet. That's literally what they think is going to happen with everything that Elon Musk is doing with SpaceX and his, I call it Project Noah's Ark. You can see it all on my Instagram and X as well. They truly, truly believe they're going to flood the planet, kill us all out, you hide underground in the tunnels and that he's been building and hide underground while we all get wiped out in another flood and pandemics and all of that, so then they can get on their ship, their craft that he's building, and go to Mars. And I'm not even joking. And the brethren, the Council of Elders, are looking at them like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And you know, when I was a kid, I used to dream of wanting to work for CERN. And now even they've come out and started lying. Physicists that I used to have a lot of love and respect for have now come out and started lying and saying, oh, we've been seeing interdimensional beings and that. And they're like, the council are like, no, they won't go near them. They call them the agent of darkness. When they stay giving me the technology to build my environmentally friendly space shuttle, because it has non-combustibles or anything in it, I was given a set of rules that I had to follow, and it was that SpaceX, NASA and CERN were not allowed to have any involvement in what I was going to build. They've trusted King Charles with it though. They've said I can build here with King Charles if he wanted to get involved, and Russia, but there's been a bit of an abandonment issue there with Russia at the moment, but that's not why I'm making this video. And no one who's worked for SpaceX, NASA or CERN are allowed anywhere near the project. If it goes ahead, they have to be the ones who never got the jobs, or the ones who never applied for jobs, the ones who have nothing to do with any of those three places whatsoever, because they'll be incorruptible. They'll have to sign things, and there'll be dire consequences. You know, like I have to keep what I'm told to a specific few people. But they've trusted King Charles. And remember, I want to call my space shuttle Red Lil. And after everything that's come out about my science being spot on and me being right about everything, and everybody else that tried to kill me and judge me were just racist morons, closed-minded morons, I can't see why he wouldn't want to get involved in it now. I said to him he'll be the first king in space. I said he could even launch the first shuttle going up. And then if we connect my space program to the Mina system, which is my gaming chair, it's going to revolutionise space flight. It's going to revolutionise home entertainment. People will go into the cinema and watching YouTube, and that will just be so boring to people who buy my Mina system. That it will absolutely 100% be the end of platforms like YouTube and the cinema. So they do not use coloured lights. They don't need them. They power up when they do travel. They power up using the sun. You will not see them. They don't need lights. Their craft itself is the light. Their craft looks like I call it their craft, but it's like their thought bubble, and it's like pearls. It looks like luminescent pearls. And when you see them going about, you know how like when you go outside and you get a bit of vitamin D and you feel like you feel replenished and rejuvenated, and you've got your kick of vitamin D. It's exactly the same for them. They go to Mother Sun, and she powers, she gives them that energy and that, and then they're able to push through. Because how they get to us, how they communicate with us, is through wormholes. They're on the other side. watching us, waiting for us to catch up to them. But we're not, because we're too busy spending trillions trying to fake an alien invasion so that a handful of rich people can take over the world before they think they're going to leave it. But they will never, ever, 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 ever be allowed near any of those planets, let alone to, they can say that they're going to put hotels on this and that and blah, 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 but it's not going to happen. They will not be allowed. Everything you see from NASA is fake. Everything you see from SpaceX is fake. Everything you see from CERN is none of it's true. It is all to set you up for Project Bluebeam, which, when I was told about the prophecy in the 90s, I was told when they bring out Project Bluebeam, although it wasn't called Project Bluebeam, she didn't say it was Project Bluebeam. She said when they start bringing out the aliens, that's when you'll know it's the fall of the Illuminati, because it's their last desperate attempt to try and have control over mankind before the Illuminati are eliminated. So all these alien things that you're seeing on social media, even, so-and-so from NASA and so-and-so from Trump's administration have come out and said, well, I've seen this, and I've seen, and General blah, and Corporal so-and-so said this, and, it's all a lie. It's all to set you up for Project Bluebeam. And how I found out about actual Project Bluebeam was through my military boys. I'm not going into details. I've said enough, but I don't want to put any of their lives in danger. I swore that I would rather go to prison than give up any of their names. And I will. I pretty much did already. I did a 4.5 month stretch in hell, protecting names and protecting things that I knew to be true. Because I knew if I came out and said this stuff, I would absolutely be dead now, because they would have upped the poison they were giving me, and I was hanging on by a thread when I first crossed paths with Queen Elizabeth, because she died when I was locked up, and it's like she came to me immediately. But I said nothing until I got out, and I just worked on my investigation and just kept pushing my physics and used my time in isolation to heal, get myself used to eating food again, because remember, I was starved. So as soon as I was able to get food into me again, my body went into complete meltdown and started rejecting all the vitamins and minerals that my body was getting. It's been 3 years, 2 months, and I'm only just starting to, my body's only just started getting used to eating proper food now, with like the reactions are slowly going away. So, I just kept my mouth shut and I waited until I got out. I said to them, I'll play the game, but when I'm out, I said, you better run, because I said, when I do my investigation and this goes to court, I'm shutting you all down. I'm coming for every single one of you. Well, that's happening now. Yay! Especially now that I know that the human rights courts are involved. So now I just wait. I'm waiting for the news that my ex-husband's been arrested and charged with my attempted murder, amongst other things, identity theft and cyber stalking and all of that. So him and his pals are on the precipice of going to prison for what was done. So now I'm just patiently waiting, sitting in isolation. I know that there are people out there who are trying to help. And I appreciate what they're doing, but the only thing I would say is, please do not speak on behalf of me and my relationship with God, because you don't know what you're talking about. Do not say, God put you through this and blah, blah, blah. You don't know my relationship with my Father, so please don't talk on anything you know nothing about. I understand what you're saying. Also, me being alone isn't loneliness. I have never ever once been lonely here. I'm a Scorpio. I like my peace and quiet. I like my silence. I work better. I have never ever once been lonely. I prefer being alone, because I'm around people who bring too much drama, and I couldn't have cleared my king's name if I was around all that hubbub and noise and drama and socialising and, you know, people bringing their crap to me and all of that sort of thing. I wouldn't have been able to focus to perfect or master quantum magnetics if I had have allowed myself to socialise. I've got friends and I've got my family members who support me and love me 100%, even though they might not necessarily understand what the hell I'm talking about at the time. When everything comes into land, when the magic, when the alchemy, when the physics comes into land, then they're like, oh, that's what she was talking about. Like when I ran to my nephew about my neighbour, he must have thought, what the hell? But then I was like, Neffy, oh my God, I think I was right about the suspicious death of my neighbour. And then I started telling him, and it was like, oh, right, okay. So my loved ones know to just let me get it all out, what I have to say, because eventually it's all going to make sense. Whereas with everybody else, they would have been, you can't say that you're going to look crazy, you can't say that, you know, and trying to put labels and terms and conditions and rules on the terms of engagement with them, and I would not have been able to clear my king's name. And his family have been accused of the most disgusting things by their own government, by their own secret service, by their own media. And I couldn't have it because, you know me, I can't stand injustice and I can't stand lies. And my brain can't allow it. My brain can't function that way. I don't know what it is. I said my dorsolateral prefrontal cortex must be the size of an apple, because that's the part of your brain that can differentiate between right and wrong and justice and injustice and doing good and doing bad. And the weaker your DLPFC, the more likely you are to commit crimes and lie, right? But the stronger you are, the more morally righteous you are, the more ethical you are. So by now mine must be the size of a watermelon, because I can't stand it. As soon as I spot the lie, that's it, I'm on the hunt, and then I have to pick it all apart, and I can't help it. But I've been able to use it to clear my king's name, to clear his whole family's name. Because you've got to remember, they've had nearly 28, 29 years of being accused of murdering Princess Diana. Even when she said herself in my codes, Charles and the Queen had nothing to do with it. I had a good personal relationship with the Queen, blah, blah, blah. Then the Queen jumped in. She's like, yep, yep, yep. And they were telling Charles what he needed to do, what he needed to watch out for, what was going to be coming in the future. They warned him, and every single thing happened. And then when Princess Anne came out with this information the other day and confirmed everything I was saying, that's when I knew the King was listening. And then I'm going to get emotional. Then I could hold my head up high. I was so proud. So proud because when you've lived 52 years of people telling you you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, sit down, shut up, you're crazy, you're embarrassing us. Take the damn pills and let Chris do what he has to do with the kids. Just sit down and shut up. That's what I was told. Sit down and shut up. Don't give them any reason to keep you in there longer. You're going to end up arrested. I don't feel safe around you. You're going down the wrong path. You're going down a path I don't want to go down. And then it turns out you were innocent the whole time and you were telling the truth the whole time. And then people like Princess Anne, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the Lord's name. Lord, I think it started with M. I'm not sure. I'm so sorry. But it's on my X. Come out and confirm everything that I said to be true. And being able to use that to clear the royal family's name in the death of that poor woman. Whatever happens going forward now, I can hold my head up high. knowing that I got to clear my king's name. And it's a shock to me, because right up until the Queen died, I couldn't have cared less about the royal family. I was a royalist as a kid until Charles died, until the divorce. And then after she died, that was it. And because my ex-husband Chris was a conspiracy theorist, and he started telling me all about the lizard people and all of that. And even though I never believed in the lizard thing, I believed a lot of what he told me, until I started realizing, as I was developing quantum magnetics and as I was becoming an occult scientist and eventually a evolutionary theorist and ascension scientist, quantum magnetics is the Swiss Army knife of science, of physics, and that, like, there's pretty much not one field of science quantum magnetics doesn't master. In regards to human development, and spiritual growth. When I started seeing that things weren't adding up, things weren't making sense, and then of course the codes started coming through. And I started taking note of them all on my WordPress and that, and the stuff started coming out about, the human trafficking and all of that. That's when my military boys started stepping forward and saying, I got something to tell you, and you're probably going to think I'm nuts, blah, blah, blah. And then they started spilling the beans about Project Bluebeam and how they were being hunted by the government, and some of them had to go into hiding. Some of them, had their pets killed. Some of them were followed from, multiple states, had to go underground, all of that because of the things that they were recording and documenting. And the Catholic Church, this is why God hates them. This is why God hates the Pope, because some of the footage that I was showing came directly from the Catholic Church. God has no love for the Pope. As far as he's concerned, they are all agents of the devil. And they're trying to say that my queen was a lizard and that the king is a lizard. That's how sick and twisted they are, because the whole point is they want to destroy the monarchy, the British monarchy. They want to get rid of it, because without the monarchy, they can't control the Commonwealth. And the whole point of Project Bluebeam is the New World Order, the One World Order. One government controlling every country in the world, and they can't do that with the king, with the British royal family on the throne. So since 9/11, pretty much, they've been doing everything. Well, I've been able to, I said to the king, there has to be, it has to go back further than that to do with the Queen and something she did with Israel. It's something that the Queen did with Israel that set the royal family as a target, and 9/11 was part of it. And then, of course, Diana's death and the Queen's death, because they killed my Queen. And Bill Gates helped kill my Queen. And I will, until I'm proven right on that, and I know I'm right because I haven't been wrong about any of it, I will stand in my truth. I don't care if not a single person calls me friend. I don't care if my children disown me. I don't care if my family disown me. Well, I mean, they have, because I was embarrassing them because they're too dumb to understand my physics. I don't care if not a single man loves me, even if I never get to have my daughter, which I was promised at the end. I will still stand and take it to the grave and maintain. I'll even put it on my headstone. They killed the Queen. They killed my Queen with that stupid COVID. And they're getting ready to do it again. to take the king, because the king has cancer now, remember? So this, because these mosquitoes and the stuff this next pandemic that they're planning, it's attacking the weak and the vulnerable, and my king has cancer, and I'm terrified that they're going to get him through Bill Gates, and he's investing money in this man. He's considered a friend, and Starmer is leading him off a cliff into a black hole, and I'm desperately trying to save the king, because the devil's got him by the hand and leading him off a cliff. Except now I think maybe the king started waking up, because of what it's like. It's just been like slowly being released stuff from the royals, obviously people that the king trusts, who are coming out and confirming every single thing that I said, including the setup of the blackmailing of Prince Andrew. I'm not saying he was perfect, but what I'm saying is he's not as bad or as guilty as the media is having everyone believe, because what's happened is they have dropped blood. Epstein, you know, the whole Trump-Epstein thing, they've dropped blood into the water to start a feeding frenzy with the piranhas and sharks and hyenas. And they're slowly adding drops of blood to kick up the frenzy. And Prince Andrew and the king are now, you know, they're the drops of blood that are being fed. And people are ripping and tearing the prey into the water without stopping to think about who threw them in there in the first place. And, you know, my conscience, I couldn't spend the rest of my life living knowing I knew information that could save innocent people's lives and not do anything about it. The guilt would eat me alive. And then when I died, I'd have to come back and do it all again, because I wouldn't have learned my lesson about honesty and speaking up about what I knew, even if it came from a science that makes no sense to everyone else. My test was to stand in my conviction and speak my truth, risking everything and everyone in order to do it, to save the reputation and the life of my king. Catherine has been ill as well, remember, Princess Catherine. So what Bill Gates is getting to release with the help of Starmer could affect her too. So we could be losing our king and the future queen to this pandemic that they've been trialling in China. So Xi Jinping, he's been given permission, he's been granted permission from the Golden Dragon, from Tian, to take care of the Bill Gates Tedros situation, and they will, because I had the dream, and I'm never wrong. So don't fall for the alien thing. If you fall for the alien thing, if they try and pull off Project Bluebeam, you will not come back alive. They're going to follow us, will take you to safety. Don't do it. If you fall for it, if you fall for this underground, you know, Google stuff under Antarctica, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point. They've done all of this. My dad said they did all of it. They've been doing it for decades to set up the great plan, the master plan, Project Bluebeam. But teacher said when they bring out the aliens, that's when you know they're desperate. That's when you know that they are losing the battle, because then they'll bring out the aliens. And that's exactly what's happening. All these countries, like Germany, is bankrupt. For the first time in history, Arkansas is officially bankrupt. The UK's bankrupt. All of these countries are bankrupt because of the corruption, because they were so desperate for a war with Russia or Iran. They need a war. They're desperate for a war. They need the war because war is profit. If you look at history, World War One, World War Two, they destroy their economy and then start a world war to get all their money back, because they make it back triple. Because then what they do is, where they would sell, like if America sent troops to Ukraine, they would make the bullets for where they would usually sell them for 80p, they'll sell them for $150. Sort of thing. So then they get their money back, but it's not happening. It's not happening because God won't allow it. There are too many forces that have been put into play now to stop the elites from developing their new world order. Elon Musk has been torn apart. Donald Trump has been torn apart. Starmer's been torn apart. Macron's been torn apart. Von der Leyen's been torn. All these ones, Root, all of them, or Rut, however you say it, they're all being torn apart. They're all being torn down. A lot of them are now under investigation for various things. And they're all trying to do these diversion tactics to distance themselves from the whole Epstein thing. Because when the truth comes out, and I promise you here and now, people, videos are about to be released of these elites with these children. You're going to be, because I've ordered the release of them, snippets of people like Donald Trump and Keir Starmer and all of that, what they're doing with these children. Snippets of videos are about to be released, and you need to brace yourself for it, because when it does, it's going to tip people over the edge, and that will be it. That will be it. These people will be dragged out of their homes. Even the police and the military will not stop what's going to happen to some of these people. I describe it in detail. People like Nancy Pelosi being dragged out of her home by her hair, because the world's about to witness what Trump and Starmer and Macron and von der Leyen and all that have been so desperately trying to avoid coming out. There's already stuff that's come out about Zelensky. Vladimir Putin has told Zelensky if he doesn't hand himself in, he's going to be arrested for human trafficking and for supplying adrenochrome to the world elites because they discovered his adrenochrome factories. So it's all coming out, and so I'm just preparing you now. Don't fall for the alien stuff. Do not fall for the alien stuff. Get this video out there and start warning people, and prepare yourselves for the fact that it's not going to be photos. There are going to be snippets, little snippets of videos coming out with Donald Trump and the elites. Little snippets are going to come out. You're going to see exactly what they've been doing with these children and why they're desperate for a war to cover it all up. And once that happens, that's it. Most of them will no longer cease to exist. The military will have to get to them first in order to get them to trial before the public do, because they will all go the way of Mussolini. And I saw that. I documented it. I can't remember if it's in my LinkedIn or Instagram, where I had a dream where they were all strung up by their feet by the lamppost, and the blood that was coming out of their throats was turning the pavements to gold, and people were chipping the gold off the pavement and going away and laughing and smiling, and the whole world turned bright and beautiful, and flowers grew everywhere, and the sun was shining, and it was like that was it. That was the end of the New World Order. So it is there. It is documented there somewhere, but you need to pass this on and get it out and start preparing people for the birth of the new world. And then when that happens, I can start my space program and show you who they really are. I'll introduce you to who they really are, because they do want you to know who they are, but they can't trust anyone here other than my bloodline. It'd be like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If they came down here, they'd be surrounded by military and world leaders, and it would be me that they opened the door to. It would be me that they greeted. Remember that one man, Richard Dreyfuss? It was him that they opened the door to, and not the military leaders and scientists. They don't trust them because they think in bloodshed, is what they said. Until we stop thinking in terms of bloodshed, they're not going to come anywhere near us. They're pacifists. Next to God, they're the second most peaceful being on the planet. So why would they come near us? They certainly don't want to have sex with us. It is all part of Project Bluebeam, including the visions. You know, people, I saw them standing in my room and they did this, this and this. Well, they have the technology to put those thoughts in your head. You will 100% believe they are real. My investigation into the Skinwalker Ranch was a prime example of the military-industrial complex using their weapons to trick people into thinking they were having alien encounters when they weren't. To prepare for Project Bluebeam, to test everything out, to test all their weapons out. Do you know one thing that stops them from being able to use those weapons? One thing that has been known to stop these weapons from infiltrating the mammalian brain. Marijuana. Not even joking. You're not susceptible to mind control when you smoke marijuana. I kid you not. I did the study. It's all there. I even talked to the king about it because I want to get it legalized here, because I want to use the hemp for various products and that you know, to help the planet. And I offered him the opportunity to come on board with me to look after the planet the right way. So go to my X, go to my Instagram. It's all there. I was proven right about everything, and now I'm just waiting for this supposed court case. I was told I wasn't told about it for my own safety because I was a government experiment. So for my own safety, I was kept out of the loop. But I know, you know, the codes. The universe tells me everything. But I don't care. I mean, I was prepared for it. My teacher told me in the 90s that this was going to happen. So, well, I mean, I didn't know I was an experiment. I mean, I knew I was an experiment from the point of when I had my WordPress, but I didn't know it went as far back as my childhood. Anyway, so there you go. So now you need to pass this on and don't fall for the lie. It's all you've been lied to this whole entire time. And now I'm here to correct everything that my ancestors got wrong, but also to correct everything that people got wrong about my ancestors. And then once everyone's on an even page and we're all up to date with the truth of what's really going on, then we can work together to clean up the planet and actually save it. And then we can get off the planet and go and join them, because they travel through wormholes using their mind. They don't need craft. And I do the same thing. And I've proven it now. And now the physicists have come out and said, we've discovered. No, I discovered. And I've been talking about it for years. And I was almost murdered because of it. So don't claim my science as yours. I discovered it. But I didn't have billions of pounds and trillions of pounds in backing. I didn't need equipment. I didn't even need a degree in anything. I knew it because it's in my genetic codes to know it, because it was passed down from my original Egyptian ancestors through to my Māori ancestors. It was all passed down to me, and then my father kick-started the rest when I was a child to make sure that when I grew up, just like in the Quantum Menace, she was raised by a military father. You know, she was experimented on. I didn't realise how true the start of that book was, the start of that comic was, until I found out. that I have been experimented on for quite a while, because I was a case study, because they can't understand what the hell I am and where I've come from and how I know what I know and can do what I can do. Maybe they thought I was an alien or something. I wish I was that wise and noble. So my space program, you'll see completely different results to anything that you've seen from NASA and that. And then, like I said to the king, maybe you'll actually get to meet the real ones. But it's going to require having a peaceful heart. You have to be of the highest frequency to be able to withstand communication with them. And the only way you can do that is if your mind, body, and soul are pure. And that means being honest and truthful. Truth and honesty keep you pure. And until we're all on the same page and live in truth and honesty, you'll never meet them. You'll never know who they really are. And they don't need bodies. They don't have physical bodies. They are pure consciousness. They take on physical forms for us because our minds are too small to comprehend that there are beings out there who have evolved beyond the need for physical bodies. We are supposed to be, with telepathy and that, we're supposed to be able to communicate without mouths by this point. I can with certain people. I talk to certain people. They know who they are. He knows who he is. I can talk to them without, that's how it's supposed to be. I said to the king, let me train your secret service, let me train your soldiers, I'd make them super soldiers. And then they'd all be able to do what I do. They'd be able to be preemptive of danger and attacks and, but you have to be pure. You have to have a pure heart. Otherwise, and because like Elon Musk is the antithesis of pure. He's pure evil. So, as is everybody else on the connected to Trump and Blair and Epstein and Gates and all of that. And let's not forget, Bill Gates made quite a few trips to that island. So, and von der Leyen and all of that, Mark Carney, they're all, Trudeau, Ardern, Malcolm, Keating, Paul Keating, I've all traced them all back. They've all been in on the conspiracy to take my king down. And the sick thing is, a lot of them took knighthoods and damehoods, knowing that they were in on the conspiracy to kill the Queen and take the monarchy down. So, yeah. So pass it on, people, because it turns out I was right. I was telling the truth, and over my dead body will they touch my king. Okay, I will use every ounce of my physics possible to protect him and his bloodline from what they're preparing to do next. He is still battling cancer. Catherine is still recovering from what she went through, and they're getting ready to drop a pandemic on Great Britain that will ensure that, and it's airborne, that the weak, the sick, the vulnerable will be the first to go. And that will be my king. And they can't keep him locked inside for, he's the king. He has royal duties. And so I've turned into quite the quantum menace. I am the quantum menace. I have literally become the quantum menace. All I need now is my superhero costume. But I won't have a cape. I just need to tone up that last little bit on my tummy, and then I'll be able to wear my quantum menace costume. I had a dream that I met my daughter. She was dressed as Princess Anahita and she was 3. She called a man sleeping under a bush a hobo. Are you a hobo? Anyway, so So I'm going to go now and have my breakfast because I'm starving. I get so hungry doing this work. All I do is eat and sleep, doing quantum magnetics and doing this work, and that is just, I get so hungry. I eat myself out of house and home. So I'm going to have something to eat. And then I need to lay down because my stomach's sore and I've been working like a bastard. So I shall speak to you later. I am shadow banned. I don't necessarily always know when you're leaving messages or whether you've watched stuff because they literally roll my numbers back, and my ex has been pink flagged and all of that because they know that my stuff is getting out, and they're terrified because they know what's coming, and they think that by slowing my messages and that from getting out, that it's going to stop what they're planning, but it's too late. If it's already gone to the human rights court, it's too late, which means when I win my case, all these people that have been wanting to reach out will be able to finally reach out because they won't be contractually obligated to stay away from me until the court case is done. So then I will be expecting an influx of communication from people who have been wanting to reach out but haven't been allowed to. And then, of course, it's going to hit the news. And when it hits the news, when it hits the media, that's when the world's going to find out the extent of how dirty and filthy the NHS and the British establishment are, and how dirty and filthy their governments and that have been with their people. Because from what I was told, a lot of people, this involves a lot of people in other countries around the world, and there's some class action thing going on. And it started with my testimony. So it's too late. They can't stop it. So just get yourself prepared for everything I just said, and go to my ex and my Instagram, especially over the last, let's say, 7 days. And then it'll all make sense. But Princess Anne has been helping clear my name. I will speak to you later. Hold your head up high and know you are loved. Ka kite anō. Mwah.